Ginkakuji 1.
Let me give you some background on Ginkakuji. Ginkakuji means Temple of the Silver Pavilion. Ashikaga Yoshimasa, the 8th shogun of the Ashikaga line, gave his title of shogun to his son, and he began to build a villa for himself. After his death in 1490, 2 years before Columbus discovered America, this villa was converted into a Zen temple. Its official name is Jishoin Temple, after his posthumous Buddhist name. What do you expect to see at the Temple of the Silver Pavilion?
I would expect to find a pavilion covered in silver and shining beautifully.
If so, you may be a little disappointed because it's not coated with silver. It isn't clear why the Silver Pavilion is not covered with silver. One story says that Yoshimasa wanted to imitate the golden pavilion built by his grandfather, Yoshimitsu, and cover its exterior in silver leaf. But due to financial difficulties, he couldn't realize his plan. In that era, silver was a little more expensive than gold.
That's surprising. So what caused these financial difficulties?
The biggest cause was the civil war called the Onin no Ran, which was one of the most destructive civil wars in Japan.
What was the cause of this war?
Yoshimasa had no sons. He named his brother as his successor, but his wife then gave birth to a son. This was one of the causes of the Onin no Ran. A fierce battle broke out over the issue of the succession.
Wasn't he a competent political leader?
It's hard to call him a competent politician. Yoshimasa wasn't the type of person who puts his career first. Let me quote a poem of his. I realize that everything is a ghostly dream. There is neither gladness nor joy in me.
2.
Was Yoshimasa a pessimistic person?
It's difficult to answer that question. In a sense, he loved the arts of solitude. He succeeded to his family's title when he was 10 years old and became shogun. The late 15th century was an era of civil wars in Japan. Besides that, a lot of famines were ravaging Japan. He spent his youth in what you might call a dark age in Japan. These factors may have formed his character. Politically, this age was characterized by the overthrow of the great and powerful by their underlings.
The tail wagging the dog may be an appropriate expression.
Thanks for teaching me a new expression. Actually, Yoshimasa was not a powerful administrator, so he voluntarily retired at the age of 37. In his retirement, he enjoyed gardening, incense burning, composing poems, tea ceremony, and Indian ink painting. He played a very important part in fostering arts such as the tea ceremony and flower arrangement.
Walking between the hedges at the Silver Pavilion.
With these stones, bamboo, and camellia trees, the entranceway to the temple is very impressive.
It's 50 meters long. It's a symbol of wealth as well as beauty.
At the entrance.
Here's your admission ticket. You can stick it at the entrance to your home or high up on the door of your room as a charm.
What's this written on it?
Canon Bodhisattva of the Temple of the Silver Pavilion, praying for good fortune, the safety of the family, then the name of the area and the name of the temple.
3. In front of the Silver Pavilion.
This is the Silver Pavilion.
It isn't silver, but I find this wooden pavilion attractive.
The Silver Pavilion was modelled on the Golden Pavilion and Saihoji, which is famous for its moss garden. This is a 2-story pavilion. The first floor is built in traditional Japanese domestic architectural style called Shoin-zukuri. The second floor is built in Zen Buddhist style, with some kato mado, flower-shaped windows. The kato mado are in the shape of lotus flowers. Canon Bodhisattva is enshrined there. The golden bronze phoenix on the roof guards the Silver Pavilion. It is said that the Temple of the Silver Pavilion expresses wabi-sabi, which is based on the idea that beauty lies in simplicity. Wabi-sabi was much loved and cultivated by Yoshimasa.
So what's this? I like this mountain of sand. It looks like a hat or an ice cream cone.
You have a good imagination. but it's often compared to the cone-shaped Mount Fuji, the highest mountain in Japan. The name of this sand hill is Kogetsudai. It means moon viewing platform.
What's this silvery white sand with waves in it?
It's said to be modelled on Lake Saiko in China. It's called the Gin Shadan and signifies the great ocean. In a sense, the silvery white sand in Zen gardens represents emptiness. It signifies transcendence. It's designed to be filled with the light of the moon. It's said that the Gin Shaden reflects the moonlight, and the reflected light is cast onto the ceilings of the silver pavilion and illuminates the whole garden.
I want to see the silver pavilion shining at night.
The silver pavilion is closed at night, though.
4. Sitting on the veranda after praying at the main hall.
Let's look at a real mountain. That mountain is called Tsukimachiyama, which means the mountain waiting for the moon. We wait for the full moon and then enjoy moon viewing.
How do Japanese people enjoy moon viewing?
On the night of the full moon, we offer pampas grass, rice dumplings, newly harvested fruit and vegetables to the moon. It's a kind of harvest festival, as well as a prayer for bountiful crops.
The concept of moon viewing in Japan is different from in America. If you watch an American horror movie, you can see the moon, a castle, and a howling wolf appearing in the same scene. In American movies, the full moon tends to induce horrific crimes.
Yes, that reminds me of several scenes in American movies. This shows a cultural difference.
I'm very interested in learning about cultural differences. Cultures differ from country to country, don't they?
Yes, please feel free to ask me any questions you have. You'll be able to find out about more cultural differences by asking me questions.
In front of the Togudo.
This building is named Togudo, which literally means East-seeking hall. It means that people in the East are seeking to be born in the Western paradise by praying to Amitabha Buddha. There's a statue of Amitabha Buddha in this hall. You can also see a room called a shoin, a kind of formal study room with a typical built-in writing desk and staggered shelves. This 4.5 tatami mat tea room is believed to be the first tea room. It's also popularly believed that the art of flower arrangement originated in this room.
5.
Please tell me about ikebana.
Okay, I'll explain it briefly. Ikebana literally means to give life to flowers. Ikebana is the traditional art of arranging flowers. There are 3 fixed positions for flowers. 3 elements are arranged in a triangle. They symbolize heaven, earth, and man, and signify harmony with nature. Ikebana was closely related to the tea ceremony and used for decorating the tea room. Still now, many women take tea ceremony and flower arrangement lessons to master traditional Japanese etiquette.
I've heard that the Japanese know a technique to prolong the life of a flower.
Cutting the stalks underwater and rubbing salt in the cut stalks is considered to be a good way.
Thanks a lot for teaching me. I love flowers. Flowers are nature's calendar.
Next, let me talk about the garden. This is a stroll-style pond garden, so you can enjoy a beautiful view from any angle. There are 7 stone bridges and 4 floating stones. Some of these stones were donated by feudal lords to show their power. Those big stones have donors' plaques on them.
6. Walking around the garden.
The steps are covered with moss on both sides.
Wow, this is the first time I've seen a moss carpet. I never realized that moss was so beautiful.
Do you know the proverb, "A rolling stone gathers no moss"? Japanese people interpret this proverb this way: if you change jobs, you'll never succeed. This means that Japanese people view moss as a kind of accomplishment.
I interpret this proverb quite differently, probably because I look at moss negatively. It means that if you stay in the same place for years, you'll never better yourself.
It's interesting to know that we have different perspectives. I've heard that British people interpret moss in the same way that the Japanese do.
At the top of the hill.
You can look down on the whole garden and the various buildings.
It's a picture postcard view, isn't it? The contrast of the moss with the pine trees is beautiful, too.
7. After leaving the Silver Pavilion, walking along the Philosopher's Path.
Let's walk along the Philosopher's Path which links the Silver Pavilion and Nanzenji. It's about 2 kilometers long. The water in this canal comes from Lake Biwa, which is the biggest lake in Japan.
Why is it named Philosopher's Path?
Nishida Kitaro, who was a philosopher at Kyoto University, liked to walk this path. Philosopher's Path was named after him. He's one of the most renowned philosophers in Japan.
On Shirakawa Street.
Look at Higashiyama in this picture. You can see the kanji Dai on Higashiyama Mountain on August 16th in this picture. Dai means big. Big fires are lit on 5 mountains. It's said that either Kukei or Yoshimasa began to light the Chinese character Dai. This is one of the Obon festivals.
What is the Obon Festival?
Obon is a 3-day Buddhist holiday, August 13th, 14th and 15th. People believe that Obon is the time of year when the spirits of the dead return to their former homes and families. This festival, Daimonji, probably originated as a way to guide these spirits back to the spirit world. Burning the firewood makes the dark night brighter.
I see. The spirits won't get lost because it's not dark even at night.
That's it. You've got the idea. The firewood is carried up the mountain on the day of the festival. When the fire is put out, people take the charcoal powder home as a charm to ward off evil spirits.
I kind of understand. It's like magic. I'd like to see the Obon Festival next time.
8.
Please tell me more about Obon.
Well, let me talk about Bon Odori. People in cotton kimonos dance in a circle until late at night to welcome and console the departed souls. Stages are often set up in shrines or temple compounds or in community parks.
Talking of the departed souls, do the Japanese always cremate the dead?
Yes, most municipalities prohibit burial for hygienic reasons.
I see. Do the Japanese often visit tombs?
Some people visit once a month. During Higan, the weeks of the vernal equinox and the autumn equinox, Japanese people pay their respects at their ancestors' tombs.
Is there a special reason for choosing Higan?
Higan means the far shore. Higan is the ideal pure land. Most of us are on this shore. We make special efforts to follow the path of Buddha during the week of Higan. We pursue enlightenment and pay our respects to our dead ancestors, especially during this week. So we visit our ancestors' graves.
I've learned a lot thanks to you.
Here comes the bus.
Fushimi Inari Taisha 1.
We're heading for Fushimi Inari Shrine. This shrine was founded in the early 8th century. Fushimi Inari Shrine, which we'll visit today, is the headquarters of all Inari shrines. First, let me explain where Inari Shrine's name came from. There are 2 theories. The first one goes back to the legend that a god appeared carrying a bundle of ears of rice plants on his back. Please look at these Chinese characters. Ine means rice plant, and ni means a thing to carry. So that's why the shrine is named Inari Shrine. Let's look at the second theory. Ine means rice plant. Nari means bear. Inari is an abbreviation of Ine Naru, which means rice plant bears fruit.
Fushimi Inari Shrine seems to have a lot to do with rice cultivation.
Originally, the deity of Inari Shrine was revered as the deity of agriculture. With industrialization, the deity of Fushimi Inari gradually came to be worshipped as the deity of business too. There are about 30,000 Inari shrines in Japan.
30,000? That many?
Inari shrines are tutelary shrines for the local people and enshrine the deity of agriculture and business. You can even find an Inari shrine on the roof of a famous department store. On the 1st and the 15th of every month, employees pray at the Inari Shrine for the prosperity of its business. Here we are at Fushimi Inari Station. This station is modelled on Fushimi Inari Shrine.
Wow, it's so orange. Why is it painted orange?
Vermilion symbolises good harvests.
In front of the torii gate.
You are expected to bow in front of the torii gate to pay your respects. It's polite not to pass through the middle of the torii gate, since the gods travel through the middle.
2.
Look at this pair of stone foxes. They're considered to be the sacred messengers of the god of this shrine.
And what does the fox on the left side have in its mouth?
It has a key. It's the key to a rice granary. It can also be seen as the key to achievement.
What does the fox on the right have in his mouth?
It has a precious stone in its mouth. Precious stones symbolize the spirit of the gods. You can find many images of foxes in these precincts. Some of them have ears of rice plants or scrolls in their mouths.
I always thought that foxes were sly and cunning. Why are foxes regarded as divine messengers?
There's no definite answer to that. I have the impression too that foxes change themselves into something else and trick us. It's also said if you believe in the fox god, you'll get omens before something bad happens, so that you can escape.
That can be said about other animals, right? For example, some animals can predict natural disasters, such as earthquakes. By the way, you didn't answer my question. Why are foxes divine messengers of the god of Inari Shrine?
I can't give you any historical facts, but folklore experts would say that the fox spirit is linked with good harvests.
Is this because the tail of the fox resembles the ear of a rice plant?
Yes, in a sense, that's a good point.
I'm gradually starting to understand that the fox is at the origin of Fushimi Inari Shrine.
No, that's not right. The fox is a divine messenger. A legend says that Hata no Kimi Irogu shot an arrow at a rice cake, and the rice cake turned into a swan, and the swan flew up to the top of Mount Inari, and a white rice plant grew, and Inari Shrine was built.
3.
According to a legend, some rats and hares were making a mess of the paddy fields and causing damage to the crops, but when a pair of foxes appeared, they disappeared.
In other words, thanks to a pair of foxes, they had good crops. Is that right?
That's right. There's an interesting story that a couple of foxes often came to play in the rice field and did their business there, which worked as a very good natural fertilizer. This natural fertilizer produced an abundant rice harvest. People were grateful to this pair of foxes and regarded them as divine messengers.
That must be a joke, but it's very interesting. This story tells us how important the rice harvest is for the Japanese people.
You've got it. According to another legend, a fox living in the mountains came down to get an ear of a rice plant during the harvest season and offered it to the mountain gods. So it has been considered to be a divine messenger.
What do you mean by the mountain gods?
I'll explain. People in ancient times were afraid of wind, rain, lightning, and other natural phenomena. Do you know why?
Because typhoons and lightning cause a lot of damage, but they do in other countries too.
Japan was an agricultural country, so they felt that natural phenomena were more powerful than humans. They regarded these natural phenomena as gods. After they began to cultivate rice, they began to worship many deities in agricultural ceremonies. People also believed that spirits lived in many objects, such as mountains, rocks, gorges, ponds, rivers, and trees. People regarded the mountains as gods. It is said that there are myriads of gods.
4.
I see. I'm gradually starting to understand Shintoism's polytheistic nature.
Shintoism is the indigenous religion of Japan. At every important ceremony, the gods were invited in, and consequently, shrines developed as sacred places to invite the gods. Do you know what the main purpose of the ceremonies and rituals is?
To pray for good harvests.
That's the secondary purpose. The main purpose is to entertain and please the gods.
Entertain the deities. That sounds fun.
After worshipping at the main hall.
There are up to 5,000 torii gates in the precincts, which were donated mostly by merchants and companies to pray for the prosperity of their businesses. The donors' names are painted in black on the back of each torii gate. They range in price from 200,000 yen to 700,000 yen. They are offered when we want to pray for something or after our prayers are answered.
I wish I could donate a torii gate, but I'm not rich enough.
You can buy a miniature torii gate. They cost 2,500 yen, 5,000 yen, or 10,000 yen. You can find these miniature torii gates everywhere. They're stacked up against the fences and can be found in many small shrines on the paths. Let's go through the senbon torii, which means 1,000 torii gates.
This is my first time here. It feels holy and refreshing, but if I were here alone, I'd feel as if I were in a maze. It might be a little bit scary.
I can understand your feelings.
It reminds me of one scene in the Hollywood movie Memoirs of a Geisha.
5. After going through the senbon torii,
Here we are at the place which connects the upper mountain and the lower mountain. This is a place of worship called Okusha Ho Haisho.
Wow! What are these tablets in the shape of fox faces? They're so cute, and they seem to be welcoming us.
They're votive picture tablets called emma. When you pray for something or after your prayers are answered, they are offered to the shrine. This votive picture is unique in that it's in the shape of a fox. Please follow me.
in front of the Omokaru Ishi.
This is Omokaru Ishi. If you can lift it up easily, your dreams will soon come true. Why don't you try?
It's a little bit too heavy for me to lift. It may take a long time for my dream to come true.
It's heavy for me too. We have to make efforts to realize our dreams. It takes about 2 hours to go up and down Mount Inari. It's 4 kilometers.
How high is Mount Inari?
It's 233 meters. We don't have enough time today, so we have to go back by the Senbon Tori route which we came up. On our way back, you can find the donors' names painted in black and white on the tori. As Japan changed from an agricultural country to an industrialized country, the number of torii gates increased. For example, in 1964, when the Tokyo Olympic Games were held, and again in 1970, when the World Expo was held.
You mean the number of torii gates increased when the Japanese economy was growing rapidly.
6. At a Japanese restaurant.
Fushimi Inari Shrine is a very popular shrine. Every year, on the average, as many as 2.5 million people pay their New Year visit there. It is listed as the second most popular shrine for New Year's visits. We pray for a long life and happiness for the year.
Do you decorate your house during the New Year holidays just like we decorate our Christmas trees?
Yes, we place a pair of pine branches and bamboo called kadomatsu on both sides of the front entrance of the house during the New Year holidays. It symbolizes longevity, prosperity, and purity. The pine tree symbolizes longevity, and bamboo is a symbol of vitality. We use plum branches to make special ones. Plum trees are a harbinger of spring. We have another New Year's decoration called shime kazari.
What's a shime kazari?
It's a decoration of twisted straw ropes with fern leaves, bitter oranges called dai-dai, and other items of good omen. We attach shime kazari over the front entrance of the house. It functions in the same way as a torii gate. Shime kazari keep the inside of the house sacred.
I see. By the way, I got a New Year's greeting card from my Japanese pen pal.
That's called a nengajo. We exchange nengajo among friends, teachers, business acquaintances, and customers to wish them a happy new year.
The practice of exchanging New Year's cards is similar to that of Christmas cards.
That's right, and the Western practice of giving Christmas presents to children is similar to that of the Japanese giving otoshidama. Otoshidama is a gift of money. We give otoshidama to young children.
7. Food is being served.
Why is this called inari sushi?
It's said that foxes like fried bean curd. It's also said that fried bean curds resemble a fox's ears, so this is called inari sushi. Fried bean curd is boiled in sugar and soy sauce. Vinegared rice is wrapped in this seasoned fried bean curd.
Thanks very much for telling me how to make inari sushi. Why is this called kitsune udon?
Kitsune is the word for fox in Japanese. This fried bean curd is the fox's favorite food. It's put on the top of hot noodles, so this is called kitsune udon.
I've heard that the Japanese eat noodles on New Year's Eve. Why do you eat noodles on New Year's Eve?
We eat buckwheat noodles called toshikoshi soba on New Year's Eve. There are two reasons for this. Since buckwheat noodles are long, they symbolize long life. Japanese people eat them and pray for a long life. The word soba in Japanese also means being close. Being close signifies the approach of the new year.
We're often surprised to see how Japanese people slurp their noodles.
It's considered to be the best way to taste the noodles. Would you like to drink some sake or shochu?
Could you tell me the difference between sake and shochu?
The main difference is that sake is a fermented alcoholic drink, and shochu is a distilled alcoholic drink made from things such as rice or potatoes. The alcohol content of shochu is about 30%. Shochu is cheaper than sake. I recommend sake because Fushimi here in Kyoto is famous for sake brewing. Sake is made from rice. Fushimi can be proud of the good quality of its rice and water, which are essential ingredients for making sake. The alcohol content is about 15%.
8.
I'm curious to know about Japanese rice. Rice is the staple food in Japan, right? I've read a book which said that the unusually cool summer in 1993 caused bad rice crops. The book said that on the average, the price of Japanese rice was 7 times that of rice from other countries, but Japanese people stick to Japanese rice.
At that time, there were long lines in front of rice shops and supermarkets. We had to wait for several hours to buy Japanese rice because it was so scarce. Talking of the rice shortages, farmers had to pay land taxes in the form of rice until the end of the Edo period in 1868. Most of the farmers couldn't get enough rice to eat due to shortages. Most farmers ate rice cooked with other cereals.
How unfair! Those farmers put a lot of effort and sweat into cultivating that rice. If I had been in their shoes, I wouldn't have carried on farming.
I agree with you.
If you were blindfolded and tasted different kinds of rice, could you tell the difference between them?
Cooked Japanese rice is rather sticky, and I find it the most delicious. When I was a child, my mother used to say, "If you leave a grain of rice in your rice bowl, you will be punished by the gods. You should always be grateful to the farmers and the gods." I'll show you a picture of taue. Taue means planting rice seedlings in paddy fields. A lot of hard work goes into growing rice.
That was fun. I really like Fushimi Inari Shrine.
If you visit Fushimi Inari Shrine early in the morning or early evening, you can also feel the spirits of the forests, listening to the songs of the wild birds.
10ryuji. 1.
Ten-ryuji is the headquarters of the Zen Buddhist Rinzai Ten-ryuji school. First of all, I'll talk about why Ten-ryuji was built. The shogun Ashikaga Takauji sided with Emperor Go-Daigo. But when establishing a new government, they had a difference of opinion, and he drove Go-Daigo out of the capital. In the end, the Emperor Go-Daigo passed away on Mount Yoshino. A famous priest, Muso Soseki, then advised Shogun Ashikaga Takauji to build a temple to comfort the spirits of Emperor Go-Daigo and those who were killed in the civil wars known as the Nanbokucho Wars. Tenryuji was founded in 1339 by Ashikaga Takauji to pray for peace. Ashikaga Takauji successfully sent a trading ship named Tenryuji ship to Yuan dynasty China in order to finance the temple's construction.
I see. By the way, could you tell me where the temple's name Tenryuji comes from?
Tenryuji is written with the characters for Heavenly Dragon Temple. Takauji had a younger brother named Tadayoshi. Ashikaga Tadayoshi had a dream in which he saw a golden dragon ascending into the sky, and so the temple was named Tenryuji.
In Hatto Hall.
This is the hall where important ceremonies are held. Look at the sui bokuga, or Indian ink painting on the ceiling. This is called the dragon glaring in 8 directions. The dragon is said to protect Buddhism. No matter where you are, this dragon is staring at you.
Could you explain Sui Bokuga, Indian ink painting?
Typical subjects are nature, animals, birds and flowers. Sui bokuga are painted and much loved by Zen priests. You can find Indian ink paintings in many Buddhist temples. To the left side of the altar in the center, you can see a statue of Ashikaga Takauji. And to the right side of the altar in the center, you can see a statue of Muso Soseki.
2. In front of the Bodhidharma.
That big picture seems to be welcoming us. Who's the man in the picture?
He is Bodhidharma. Zen Buddhism was founded by Bodhidharma. According to legend, Bodhidharma sat meditating facing a stone wall for 9 whole years in order to reach enlightenment. He did zazen for 9 years.
I'm interested in zazen. Could you tell me more about zazen?
Zazen is a type of religious meditation in a sitting posture and is a means of reaching enlightenment. You sit up straight on a cushion with your right foot on your left thigh and your left foot on your right thigh.
Bodhidharma did zazen for 9 years, so obviously he was a really determined person, wasn't he?
Yes, he's said to be a symbol of patience. What do you think is the most important thing for reaching enlightenment?
I think it's sitting in meditation.
Zazen is the second most important thing. The most important thing is cleaning. It's to clean your surroundings.
I don't like cleaning, so I'll never reach enlightenment.
I'm not good at cleaning either, but I make it a rule to do some cleaning every day. The word cleaning contains many meanings.
Doesn't cleaning mean cleaning the house or garden?
It means purifying your mind too. Well, this is the entrance, so let's sit and talk on the veranda.
3. Looking at Tenryuji Sogenshi Teian while sitting on the veranda.
This is a borrowed landscape garden which incorporates Mount Arashiyama, Mount Kameyama, and Mount Ogurasan into the scenery. The elegant, aristocratic culture of Yamato air, or Japanese paintings, combines well with Zen culture to produce a beauty which is unique to this garden.
I want to keep looking at it all day long.
Let's talk some more about Zen Buddhism. In Zen Buddhism, it's important to feel for yourself what is necessary. First of all, Zen Buddhism was accepted by the samurai warrior class. They always had to be prepared to go to war and die. In other words, they were always faced with decisions, and so Zen Buddhism, which requires self-discipline, flourished among them.
I see. Warriors can't defeat their enemies by relying on others, so Zen Buddhism was embraced by them.
That's right. Reliance on others can't lead to success. Salvation by your own efforts is important.
Please carry on talking about why cleaning is important in Zen Buddhism.
Here, cleaning means movement. In other words, working. You can reach enlightenment by working. Zazen symbolizes stillness. The combination of movement and stillness is important. It's impossible for you to reach enlightenment only by Zazen. If you can become a Buddha just by practicing Zazen, you can make a mirror by polishing a tile. It's obviously impossible, right? Cleaning emphasizes invisible efforts too. For example, when you are cleaning your room, you hit upon an idea. That's one kind of little enlightenment.
Does cleaning signify purifying your mind?
Of course. It's important to throw away unnecessary thoughts and live with a serene mind. In order to do so, we perform aesthetic practices.
4. In Hojo.
I've realized that my idea of reaching enlightenment just through zazen was wrong. In order to reach enlightenment, I have to work on everything positively by cleaning my surroundings and purifying my mind.
This used to be the living quarters of the chief priests. We're allowed to walk around the tatami mat rooms. The size of a Japanese room is measured by the number of tatami mats.
How large is one tatami?
It's about 180 centimeters by 90 centimeters. A room is measured by how many tatami it can accommodate. 8 mat, 6 mat, and 4.5 mat rooms are the common sizes. The rooms are separated by Japanese walls, paper screens, and sliding doors. Japanese sliding doors are called fusuma. They are covered with thick paper. Japanese sliding screens are called shoji. They are covered with thin white paper on a wooden frame.
I can see that the difference between fusuma and shoji is that fusuma separate Japanese-style rooms and shoji separate the rooms in a Japanese house from a corridor or veranda, right?
That's right. This is a Zen-style room. So the decorative screen called byobu is very simple.
Why are there no patterns or paintings on the fusuma?
In order to relax the guests who have been led to this room and are waiting for the host.
Do Japanese-style rooms have locks?
No, as you can see.
It seems that Japanese houses lack privacy, but I can see the merits of Japanese-style rooms. It's easy to enlarge the space available by opening or removing the sliding doors, isn't it?
5.
In addition to that, Japanese paper is ideal for the climate in Japan.
Why's that?
Because paper controls the humidity level by absorbing and releasing moisture. Another good point about a typical Japanese-style house is that it's made of wood, so it's an airy structure. Both the wood and the paper breathe. I'd like to have this kind of Japanese-style room in my house. I can really relax here. Actually, I live in a small apartment which doesn't have a Japanese-style room.
What's this alcove?
This is called a tokonoma in Japanese. This is an important place where hanging scrolls or flower arrangements are placed.
This hanging scroll looks very simple.
Yes, this is called a kakejiku in Japanese. Many kakejiku have brush-written characters or paintings designed to suit a particular season or event.
I feel very calm in this Japanese-style room. What's the average floor area of homes in Japan?
It's about 92 square meters. The per capita living space in Japan is 33 square meters.
That's half as large as that of America.
The percentage of home ownership in Japan is about 60%. There's another weak point in addition to lack of privacy. Can you guess what it is?
Wooden houses aren't fireproof. They can easily catch fire.
Yes. That may be one of the reasons why this temple burned down as many as 8 times. Most of the present buildings are reconstructions from the Meiji era, which began in 1868 and ended in 1912. This landscape garden remained intact. Tenryuji Sogen Chiteien was the first stroll-style garden in Japan. Shall we walk around the garden?
6. In front of the Shaka Nyorai.
The main statue of this temple is of Shakyamuni Gautama. He reached enlightenment, the ideal state. Let's pray to Shakyamuni Gautama.
In front of the Sogenshi pond, after praying to Shakyamuni Gautama.
The main focus of this garden is the 3-tiered dry waterfall composed of imposing rocks. Though this is called a waterfall, there is no water. This is a part of dry landscape garden. Between the first and the second dry waterfall rocks, there's a rock which is regarded as a carp rock. The carp ascends the waterfall to become a dragon. This is what the Chinese saying, "You must make efforts and overcome the obstacles to be enlightened," teaches us. I see the group of rocks in the pond as a dragon. And I think that it's encouraging the carp to overcome obstacles. Use your own imagination. The most important thing in Zen Buddhism is to think and feel for yourself.
I feel I'm getting to understand Zen Buddhism.
The reason why this was listed as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO is that it's the oldest garden combining aristocratic culture and Zen culture.
I went on the one-day Nara tour. Why are there fewer gardens there than in Kyoto?
In the Nara era, Buddhist statues were large and they had outdoor ceremonies, so they couldn't create gardens. In the Heian era, Buddhist statues became smaller and summers were really hot in Kyoto because Kyoto is in a basin. So it can be said that gardens were created to make the hot summers cooler. For example, the water of the ponds helps to improve the circulation of the air.
7. In a Japanese Shojin cuisine restaurant.
Shojin cuisine was originally a special kind of vegetarian dish for Buddhist monks, containing neither fish nor meat. This follows the Buddhist prohibition against killing animals. Shojin means improving the soul. It's very important to keep the harmony between the soul and nature.
Wow, there are so many beautifully arranged little dishes.
Some of the vegetables are chosen according to the season, so they are fresh. This is tofu. Tofu is also the basis for various kinds of cuisine. Tofu has been enjoyed as part of Buddhist vegetarian cuisine. Kyoto is famous for its high-quality tofu.
Why is Kyoto famous for tofu?
The excellent soft well water is said to contribute to the high quality of its tofu.
Tofu is one of the best-known Japanese foods, isn't it?
Yes. Many people think that soybean processed foods originated in Japan, but it's not true. Buddhist monks in China played an important role in developing soybean foods. Since they were forbidden to eat fish or meat, they needed some form of protein. It's said that some Japanese people who went to China brought tofu, miso, and soy sauce back to Japan in the 8th century. Soy sauce, called shoyu, is an essential seasoning for Japanese cooking.
What's this yellowish thing? Is this tofu or egg?
That's yuba. It's the film that forms on the surface of boiled soy milk. Yuba is also a speciality of Kyoto. You can buy it fresh or dried.
What's this with holes in it?
That's a lotus root. You can see into your future through the holes in lotus roots.
It's a lucky food.
8. In front of the peace kannon after praying to the statue of Emperor Go-Daigo.
The mother of the founding priest of Tenryuji Temple, Muso Soseki, had a dream about Kannon Bodhisattva, and after that she gave birth to Muso Soseki. As I explained to you, Soseki was the person who advised Takauji to build Tenryuji Temple. He contributed a lot to building a peaceful society. So this peace kannon was built here to pray for peace.
By the way, the frog statues are very cute. Does a frog signify something important?
Frog is kairu in Japanese. Kairu means return, so it can be interpreted as good things returning to you. You can find charms in the shape of a frog at the souvenir shop. Keeping it in your wallet will bring you good fortune. Even if you spend your money, it'll return to you.
I see. I guess it means that you'll become clever with your money.
In front of a big Indian inkstone.
This is an Indian ink stone called a suzuri. It's said if you pray to this, you can make remarkable progress in Chinese calligraphy. Suzuri is an Indian ink stone. Put a little water in the recessed part and rub the ink stick to produce Indian ink for shodo.
Can you please tell me a little bit about shodo?
Shodo is translated as calligraphy. You should place a particular emphasis on the shade of the ink. The movement of the brush and the combination of strokes are important too. Calligraphy is a creative art form which can express spiritual depth and beauty. It's been getting less popular, but it's an important part of Japanese culture. On the 2nd of January, some people write New Year's resolutions, happy words, or phrases while facing the auspicious direction for that year. This is called kakizome in Japanese.